Chag Sameach. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day and came across a really wonderful post by our former governor, Rick Snyder, that I wanted to share with everyone. And it's a really long post. I'm not going to give you the whole thing, but he asked the question, why is flattening the curve so critical? And he answered that. He gave the advice, don't obsess over the statistics, right? Don't pay such close attention to the day in and day out of the numbers. It'll just drive you batty. He said, we have to remember this crisis and learn from it as a state and as a country. He said and encouraged us that we still need to find civility in our society. And then he gave a fifth point that I want to spend just a minute on. The governor said, don't forget common sense. And then former Governor Snyder went on to say, many people are treating government orders as a prescription for how they should live their lives. As things start to reopen, he writes, we are now seeing people gather in crowded environments. Let's use some common sense, Governor Snyder wrote. The illustration that I've been using is about going to the big house for University of Michigan football this fall. People are waiting to see if fans will be allowed to come. And the governor wrote, and I was with him here, Governor Snyder wrote, I am as maize and blue as anyone, but I won't be going to the stadium until there's an effective vaccine. Hanging out shoulder to shoulder with 100,000 plus people for hours is not safe until we have a long-term solution. Before we were given governments, Governor Snyder wrote, we were given brains, which we all need to use. I'll read that last sentence again that he wrote. Before we were given governments, we were given brains, which we all need to use. I thought it's the most profound of statements that if people would just use their brains, we would need a lot less government. If people were just to use their brains, we'd need so many fewer laws. As we think about what law means in America, and indeed this is Zman Matan Toratenu, this is the season in which we reflect on the meaning of law. Remember that at the very core of our country, the United States, is this idea that we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right? That's it. That's what it means to be an American, is to have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And your right to a life of, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness ends where my right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness begins. The laws in our country are in so many ways about protecting our individual rights, making sure that your rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness don't trounce my rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's the role where law comes in. But what we see so often is we need this law because people fail to use their brains. We need this law because people are looking to take advantage of each other, to get one step ahead. And that's the role of law in our country today. We turn to this holiday of Shavuot in which we read the 10 Commandments. And really, as our rabbis come to teach, this is Zman Matan Toratenu. God didn't just give the Big 10 on Mount Sinai. God gave the entire Torah, all 613 laws and the narrative that collects them. So what is the meaning of this law? What is the significance of this law? And indeed, for the last 2,000 years, a criticism that has been hurled against the Jewish people is that we are too law-oriented and not enough love-oriented. We're too focused on the rules. We're too focused on this idea of commandment. And as a result, over the last 2,000 years, our rabbis have really sought to explain ta'amei ha-mitzvah, the reason for the commandment, ta'amei ha-mitzvot, the reason for the commandments. And so I want to just spend a minute hovering there to think about what is the nature of being commanded. What is the nature of commandments in Judaism? We know as early as the Torah itself that the Torah says that there are different categories of laws, mishpatim, chukim, and other different categories. And our rabbis come to say that maybe these mishpatim and these chukim are rational ordinances, things that we would think of on our own, like don't kill, don't steal, right? These are part of a society. Honor your mother and father. But then there are the chukim, what we might call irrational statutes, or those statutes which don't make necessarily rational sense to us, such as keeping kosher, such as observing the holidays. And these things we do wearing a talit, wearing the tzitzit at the fringes, right, wearing tefillin. These are things we do simply because God told us to do it. And that seems to be the categorization in the Torah itself. As time goes on, our sages gave differing explanations for why our laws exist. Already 2,000 years ago, the first century philosopher Philo, he said that all law for the Jewish people, all of our commandments, are entirely rational. They're entirely rational. And their goal is to regulate beliefs, emotions, the actions symbolizing beliefs, and the actions symbolizing emotions. And that for Philo is what the role of law is. Fast forward another 1,000 years, and in the medieval ages, you have someone like Saadia Gaon, the great sage Saadia Gaon, who said the laws are all about gratitude, reverence, and social conduct. That one spoke to me. I like that. Laws are about gratitude, reverence, and social conduct. And that's why we need these commandments, because without them, we wouldn't necessarily be grateful on our own. We wouldn't necessarily be reverential on our own, and we certainly wouldn't conduct ourselves with relationship to other people all that well. Around the same time period, Maimonides, the great sage Maimonides, he offered a different explanation for the reason for the commandments. The Rambam, Maimonides, taught that laws are about the welfare of the soul, and they're about the welfare of the body. Laws are meant to transcend our yetzer hara, our animal inclinations, right? That which exists within our bodies, in order to defeat idolatry, to intellectualize our relationship with God. Rambam is really fascinating, and he says so much of serving God really is in the head, but until we can get to that place where our head can really appreciate God, we have to have laws that require our body to commit certain actions that help remind our brain. Maimonides was also a physician, and so he knew about the importance of caring for the body itself in order to allow the soul to transcend, in order to allow the soul to elevate. So again, Maimonides says that the laws are about the welfare of the soul and the welfare of the body. But what about today? It's the 21st century. Do we really need all these mitzvot? Do we really need all of these commandments? Do we really need a set of laws to tell us to regulate our beliefs and our emotions and the actions that affect them? Do we really need all these laws to remind us to be grateful, reverential, and conduct ourselves socially well? Do we need these laws to care about the welfare of our soul and the welfare of our body? Do we really need all these mitzvot? After all, here we are in 2020. We've defeated idolatry. We're not worried about people worshiping idols again. And we've created this idea of the nation state where there are laws set up to control how we interact with each other. When we have the laws of our country or of other countries, do we still need the mitzvot? My answer, of course, is yes. We still need the mitzvot because we prioritize the self over others. We need the mitzvot because, as I read them, the nature of the commandments are about ensuring that on a large scale, the powerful don't take advantage of the powerless. Don't abuse the powerless or those with less power. On an individual level, the laws, the mitzvot, ensure that those who have take care of those who have less. And of course, as our rabbis teach, everyone has, and even a poor person in Israel is required to take care of someone less fortunate than himself or herself. These laws come to remind us that we all have. And as a result of having, we have an obligation to give. But I think, too, that these laws come to remind us that we have to regularly transcend our bodies to allow our souls to rise. Because so often we are trapped in our bodies. We're tired, we're hungry, we're scared, and these are the emotions that drive our decisions, rather than being able to transcend our bodies to ask, what's best for our souls? Or perhaps even better, what do I owe somebody else? How do I take care of someone else? Because unlike the United States, where the laws are about protecting my individual rights, the laws of Judaism are about what I owe to others, how I take care of my fellow human beings, and how I serve God. right? The laws of Judaism are about our obligation to others, not the rights that we ourselves deserve. So on this Shavuot holiday, as we contemplate the nature of law, I'd like to encourage you to think about one mitzvah. What's one commandment that you can now really incorporate into your life? Just pick one. If you don't already light Shabbos candles or Yom Tov candles, maybe you want to do that. If you're not already saying Hamotzi or Birkat HaMazon, the blessing before a meal or after the meal, maybe you want to choose that. If you're not giving tzedakah regularly, maybe you want to choose that. If you're not doing a good enough job honoring your mother or your father, maybe now is a good time to choose that. And if you are spending all day on Shabbos or Yom Tov in front of the television, maybe you want to turn that off too. This is an opportunity to take one chance, one mitzvah, to elevate your soul, to remind yourself, to remind us that we are obligated to others, and we are obligated to God. At the end of the day, that's what the laws are about. Allowing our soul to transcend our physical nature, ensuring that those of us who have take care of those of us who have less, make sure that those who are comfortable take care of those who are in need, and to make sure each and every day we serve God. Indeed, our laws exist in this country to ensure that people have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we need these laws because people often fail to use their brains. So perhaps as we go forward in this day of laws, remember the unwritten laws that exist now, wearing masks, of keeping socially physical distance from each other, and of making sure we truly care for all who are in need, and especially the most vulnerable among us. With that, I'll wish everyone in the Zman Matan Toratenu, the season of giving the laws, a Chag Sameach, a happy and a healthy Shavuot. And indeed, may we remember to incorporate not just American law, but Jewish law into our lives each and every day.